Hello, friends. Welcome to Top of the Stack MTG. It's been a while. We are coming back because Arena just recently had some amazing news, which is basically that Frontier is coming to Arena, which I am incredibly excited about. It's probably about the only thing that could bring me back, so that's good. Of course, they don't call it Frontier. They call it Explorer. For a couple of reasons, and I'm going to kind of go into the history of it just a little bit, and then we'll get into where to find it in Arena and that kind of stuff. It's very exciting though, because it's a great format that I'm very thankful is being accepted so much. We've talked about it a lot in the past on this channel, lots of old videos about Frontier. So okay, so Frontier is basically a new format for Magic like Modern. It doesn't rotate out. It receives new cards in, but old cards don't leave, which is great because it means the old cards that you get used to and you love, you can always play. They will not go away. And as new cards come out, you can add things to those old cards to make new decks or upgrade your decks or whatever you like. It's really great to have a non-rotating format that's newer than Modern. Modern's awesome, don't get me wrong, but it's been around for so long that the cards are pretty expensive. Modern is a very expensive I guess, format to play in. Also, for me personally, I love Frontier because the Japanese originally created it. This is just a really basic history from what I know, okay? The Japanese basically created it because apparently, starting in about 2015, it was the first time they could get really consistent translations on Magic cards, which was kind of a surprise to me, honestly. I thought they'd been translating cards into Japanese forever, but from what I'd seen and heard, it sounded like the Japanese were able to really start playing Magic consistently with Japanese cards in about 2015. Also, Wizards of the Coast changed the border of all Magic cards, all standard Magic cards, in 2015 for that core set. So the Japanese just said, hey, we've got this new border and we've got good translations guaranteed consistently. So we should start playing Magic from this date on. And they created an eternal format that they called Frontier. Now, Wizards of the Coast, it took a little while, but once they started warming up to it, they decided, yeah, this is a pretty good idea. We should make this official. So what they did is they created a format called Pioneer, which is not from 2015 on, which is when we got back into collecting, when my family got back into collecting Magic cards. That's why we're so excited about it, is because we literally were like, we should start playing Magic again. And we started buying cards, and then suddenly there was a format that was beginning right with the cards we were starting to buy. So it was brilliant timing because we'd gotten down to Magic for a while. But they backed it up a little bit. Wizards of the Coast said, we're not going to do 2015 on, we're going to do 2013 on. Actually, right after 2013. So they do not include the 2013 core set. But right after that came Return to Ravnica. So Return to Ravnica is the first official set of Pioneer, okay? You can use Return to Ravnica cards in Pioneer forever. They will never rotate out. They're the oldest cards that will be in this format. Now, of course, sometimes older cards are reprinted in standard sets. So technically you could be like, well, there is this card that was first created in 2010. You know what I mean? But as far as sets go, Return to Ravnica is the first set, okay? And there's 3 sets within that block. They're all kind of Ravnica, but they're different sets, and that's Ravnica, Gatecrash, and Dragon's Maze. So those 3 sets, and then Core Set 2014 or Magic 2014, I think it's called. And then, and by the way, that was the second time we'd been to Ravnica. So there is an original Ravnica set and then the Return to Ravnica. And Return to Ravnica is the first set that we can use. And then after 2014 was Theros, Born of the Gods, and Journey to Nyx. And that was the first time we'd been to Theros. So you've got Ravnica, Core Set 2014, and Theros, and then Core Set 2015, which is where the Japanese had started it, but Magic went back a couple years. So that's awesome. They make Pioneer. It's got those sets, and it's all standard legal sets that come out after that. So for now, it's all the way up through Streets of New Capenna, which just came out, and all of those standard legal sets. And the reason I say standard legal is because Wizards of the Coast makes sets that are just for older formats, like they might have a thing called Modern Masters. And Modern Masters will be a bunch of reprints of old Modern cards. So you can go buy those packs. It helps kind of keep the price down of these really old cards because they're reprinting them. So they're creating more. And they may even put in new cards that no one's ever seen before, but those new cards are only for Modern. They are not for Standard. So that Modern Masters set is not legal in Pioneer. Even though it came out recently, it wasn't standard legal when it came out. It was made for Modern, not for Standard. Therefore, it's not part of Pioneer and it's not part of Standard. And they do this all the time. They make Commander sets that aren't standard legal, but they're perfect for Commander, all kinds of different sets come out that are not standard legal. And if you don't know, Standard's just a rotating format. It's just like 2 years worth of the newest cards. And then the old year falls off and a new year pops on. The old year falls off and a new year pops on. So it's a rotating format. It's super fun, but Pioneer is much better. Yeah. Okay. So there are some banned cards, just to say out loud. The format, when they make a standard set, they're not saying to themselves, will this standard set hurt Modern? Will this standard set hurt Pioneer? Will this standard set hurt Commander? Right? They're not, you can't think that wide about making new cards. What they think to themselves is, will this standard set hurt Standard? Right? So they want to be careful not to hurt Standard, but sometimes they can make cards that are maybe okay in Standard, but aren't very good for Pioneer. Now, most of the time, they're actually just total mistakes, and they're not good for Standard, and they're not good for Pioneer. So they end up banning them from both, and they may even ban them from Modern. But they don't want to think about Pioneer while they're trying to make new cards. So what can happen is they'll make a card, we'll play with it in Standard, it'll be fun, but when we play with it in Pioneer, it kind of breaks it and it's kind of weird. So they have to ban the card. So there are certain cards that have been banned from Pioneer. Felidar Guardian is a good example. It's just a cat. It's a cat that works with a certain, I think Seth from MTG Goldfish was the first time I'd seen this. I know people had talked about it earlier. I think the minute they spoiled the card, people were like, oh my gosh, you can create this infinite combo and instantly win the game. But Seth on MTG Goldfish streamed a deck and showed it happening. And from then on, it was like super popular. I think he's the one that really pushed it into the spotlight. And yeah, it makes this weird infinite combo where they're duplicating each other a million times, and then they all, I can't remember. I think they all have haste and they can just attack immediately, and it just instantly ruins the game. So that cat, and it's kind of unfortunate because the cat itself is not that bad of a card. In a cat deck, that card is super fun. But when you put it with Saheeli, with this Planeswalker, you get this weird infinite combo. So they didn't want to ban Saheeli. So they banned the cat, which I was sad about because I wanted to play it in cat decks because it's pretty good. It's a cool cat, but it was too good with that Planeswalker. So that's banned. What else they got? Smuggler's Copter got banned. That's a vehicle that was just too good. Oko got banned. It was too good. Also, Field of the Dead. And I think it was Luis Scott Vargas in Denver who put together a Field of the Dead deck and won the competition and created a deck that was just way too good. And it ended up getting banned. So good on him. That's awesome that he put that together. But he did end up getting the card killed. So that's cool. But most importantly, I think for the bans to mention are the Fetchlands. So in Khans of Tarkir, they re-released these really old, really powerful lands. And it's good that they do that they reprint these old cards, like I said, because it brings the price down. So they reprinted the Fetchlands, and they kind of define modern. So it's really good that they've decided they're not going to do Fetchlands in Pioneer. Now, I do want to say I loved that they printed the Fetchlands in a standard set. I feel like they still need to do those kinds of things. I wouldn't mind at all because they come in like in small patches. So you'll only get 5 Fetchlands. And the Fetchlands are 2 different colors, but there's more than 5 combinations of the 2 different colors. So we only got like half the Fetchlands. So I do want to say out loud, I think it'd be a great idea for them to reprint other Fetchlands in standard sets in the future and just ban them in Pioneer. I'm glad they're not in Pioneer, and I love that they were reprinted in standard sets. That should still happen. It's okay to ban cards. It's okay to pre-ban cards. For me personally, I don't see any problem in saying, we put this card in this set because it costs $400, which is ridiculous. So we put it in this new set. So there'll be some reprints. The price of the card will go down a little bit. And you can't play it in Pioneer. I have no problem with that at all. I think some people do. Some people don't like pre-bans, but for me, it's awesome. I don't think there's anything wrong with doing reprints and just saying, Wizards, they've done a couple really neat things. The one I liked the best was having like a mini set with a normal standard set. And the mini set was not legal in standard and probably not legal in Pioneer. But it didn't matter because the cards were amazing. They're expensive. They're fun to open. You can play them in modern, right? I mean, I think you could even play them in the drafts when you would open them in a draft pack. Like, seriously, it was an excellent idea. And they should do that a lot. Just throwing that out there. Yeah, so there are some banned cards. Not a big deal. Just know that, like, if you're thinking to yourself, ooh, okay, so I got to get all the Theros cards. You don't necessarily have to get all the Theros cards because some of them might be banned. You know what I mean? Good. Okay. And that's only if you're a crazy collector. We crazily collected for a while. There are some videos on the site that you can see where we've got 4 copies of every card for set after set after set after set. And there's nothing wrong with that if you're in a position to do that. We're not in a position to do that anymore. So that has not been happening. Just want to say. But yeah, it happened for a while and it was fun. It was wonderful. But you don't necessarily need every card for Pioneer because some of them are banned. Okay, so anyways, then they decided they're going to put, finally, I got to say finally, because it's been a rough road. Finally, Wizards decided that they're going to put Pioneer on Arena. And they renamed it Explorer. And the reason they did that is because they don't have all the cards in Pioneer on Arena yet. They've promised that they're going to try within the next several years to get all the cards from Pioneer onto Arena. And I believe they will. Honestly, it wouldn't be difficult at all. I don't know why they're dragging their feet so much with it. Wizards of the Coast does not make good business choices. Arena has been a struggle. I mean, they didn't want to have best of 3. They didn't want to have any kind of a non-rotating format. And then they finally decided they would have a non-rotating format, but you had to pay twice as much for the cards. And then they realized that was kind of dumb. So they decided not to do that. There's been a lot of craziness. They said they weren't going to put Pioneer on ever. They said that they weren't going to put on Brawl, the singleton format, where you only get one of each card in your deck. And you have a commander. They were never going to do that. And now they've done that. So it's been a bumpy ride, but we're making progress. And I do have to say, because I don't think I say this enough, Wizards of the Coast makes Magic. And Magic is probably the greatest game ever created, next to maybe chess. It's incredible. If you have the time and the money, and the wonderful thing is with Arena, I don't have to say and the money as dramatically as I used to, because Magic is expensive, super expensive, but Arena is not that expensive just to play. But we'll get into that in other videos. But Wizards makes Magic, which makes them incredible. I love the game. I love that they've kept it alive this long. I love that it is as successful as it is. It's genius. So they deserve a million kudos for that. And they're not very good at business. So I'm very tough on them for their business decisions. I have been in past videos. I will be in future videos. But it's very important that everybody understand that I play Magic all the time. I love Magic. I love Wizards of the Coast. You know, you can't play Magic as much as I do and act like you totally hate everything, because that's just completely false. But I am definitely going to have some criticisms about choices that they make, because they make incredibly bad choices. And the weird thing is, it's only because Magic is so successful. If they actually had to fight to keep their products alive, they'd be a lot better at business. But they don't. They can make the worst mistakes possible, and they just keep raking in the cash. They're just kind of spoiled, is the reality. You know, I don't want to say it's not their fault, because it is, but it's because there's no consequences to any of their actions. Magic sells well because it's a great game. Okay, so anyways, they finally decided to get Pioneer onto Arena. They've called it Explorer. And all you need to do if you want to play Explorer, which I highly recommend, because the meta is pretty nice. There's 2 decks that are a little bit crazy right now, which is the blue-white deck and the I forgot the person's name. There's this person that when you play them, you can attack with a bunch of people, and then for every person that attacks, you get a bunch more people on the battlefield attacking, and they're indestructible, and it sort of just instantly wins the game. I forgot the name of the card, but those 2 decks are very powerful on Arena right now. So you'll see a lot of those when you play. But if you sideboard against those decks, I think you can do a really good job because they're pretty common. So it makes your sideboard choices rather easy, to be honest with you. Anyways, if you decide you want to try Explorer, what you need to do is build an Explorer deck, okay? So you just go up to your decks here. I'm sorry, my computer's pretty dang slow. We're on a Mac, and it has to go through this other program to download Arena, and I think it affects it, but I'm not sure. So you can build a new deck, or you can take one of your old decks. So I'm going to grab this random, let's see, I'm going to grab this Hot Springs deck. This is a deck that Seth put on MTG Goldfish that was pretty dang fun. So we made a copy of it with our own little subtle changes. When you click on new deck, I'm going to switch this up so it looks like it does when you do it. When you click on new deck or one of your old decks, it's going to come up like this, okay? On the right will probably be blank if it's a new deck. So when you select cards, they'll fly over to the right and fill up that column. This column, I'm going to try to point to the camera. The column on the right so you can see all that stuff. Over here, oh, I guess I can just use my cursor. Yeah, the cards will fly over here that you pick to be in your deck. But most importantly, if you click this bar up here, and don't go too far, if you click the sleeve, you're going to end up picking a new sleeve. But if you click this bar up here, you go to this menu, okay? Now, this is a complaint that I think people have about Arena, certainly about Wizards' ability to make video games, which isn't the best in the world, but I'm so thankful it exists. It's confusing. There's just so much, so many, I don't know, it's crazy. So when you click on that bar, it'll bring you here. And with this drop down, you can choose what category you want to play under. So we're going to choose Explorer, okay? So now this is an Explorer deck, okay? Then you got to hit this back arrow. It takes you back to here. Now, if you had a deck that you pre-selected, it'll be full on the right, of course, over here. And you can roll down and see if any of these cards are illegal. The way you can tell if they're illegal is if they're kind of blacked out. They're black and white, they're grayed out, okay? So that's how you tell that. Now, you may not see any illegal cards here, but it's telling you that your deck is illegal when you try to save it. When you try to say done, it might say this deck is illegal, it has illegal cards. And you'd be like, no, I'm looking at every card, it doesn't look illegal at all. It could be that you have cards in the sideboard. So up at the top, there's this little sideboard button, and you can bounce back and forth. You could have an illegal legal card in your sideboard, okay? So just be aware of that. You need to check both to look for illegal cards. Good, okay. Wizards increase the number of decks that you can hold to 100. So if you've already reached the max deck size, you can just hit the plus and make a bunch more decks because you now get 100 instead of 60, I think it was. So that's great news. So once you've built your deck, you get 4 copies of each card. You need about 24 lands, you know, usual deck stuff. Once you've built your deck, then, well, not once. Let's talk about this too. There's another menu that I want to show you, and that is this one, okay? It doesn't make sense to go with these, but once again, they're not the greatest at designing these things. So here's a second menu. If you click this, you come here. Okay, now you can see we already have Explorer selected here because we changed the deck itself to Explorer, and it's still thinking about the same deck. It's just a new menu. So it still says Explorer here. But if you roll down here, this is a little bit weird. Amonkhet and Kaladesh are legal in Explorer, but you cannot look at them. Okay. And in fact, there are probably I don't know for certain, but I'm pretty dang sure there are Pioneer legal cards in all of these historic anthologies and in Jumpstart and maybe even Mystical Archives. So all of these technically should probably be lit up when Explorer is selected, but they're not. Now, I have tested, I've searched for specific Amonkhet cards. Let me get out of this menu. You got to hit OK to get out of this menu, which is different than the other one, which is bizarre. And they have come up. So it's not busted. Let me see. Why are these all rare and mythic rare? Is that selected? I don't know why. That's bizarre. Okay, that's all right. So for some reason, oh, there we go. Okay, that's not good. So what I want to see is an Amonkhet card. Oh, I wonder if these are, I don't know what the deal is. Okay, here we go. So this looks very normal. Where are you? Here. So this symbol is for, oh, I just forgot the name. Let's go back to here because we're in Explorer. And that symbol is for Kaladesh, okay? So Kaladesh cards are showing up, even though you cannot click Kaladesh to just look at the Kaladesh set. That's a mistake that they've made, and they're going to have to get this fixed so that you can. But right now, if you're thinking to yourself, Kaladesh is legal, but I only want to see the Kaladesh cards, what you need to do is change this to historic. Okay, then they all light up. Then you can click on Kaladesh, and when you say okay, there will only be Kaladesh cards here. Okay. So that's just a little mistake that they've made. You can feel comfortable selecting Explore and just looking through all the cards, knowing that you're seeing them all. Okay. But if you just want to see Kaladesh, then you've got to do that little funkiness that we talked about. So now I'm going to unselect it and I'm going to go back to Explorer. There we go. And then I can say, okay. Now we're just back to here again. Good. So you could build a deck, get it all over here, go ahead and say done. And then if you want to play Explorer, as soon as my computer catches up, good. If you want to play Explorer, then you're going to go to here. This is all confusing and weird because they're not great at it. You can hit play. And then up here, you've got some choices. Okay. The first one is all the wacky events that they're doing at the moment. Okay. So if you want to play sealed or you want to do a draft or whatever, this is a good place to find that stuff. The second one over is your kind of normal games. Okay. They have standard, they have alchemy, and alchemy are cards that only are made for the computer. So they don't exist in paper. So it's kind of a weird format that it's going to take a while for people to get used to, but I do think they will get used to it. I don't play it. I'm just too old, I guess. But I think it will. I mean, it's the computer age. It's going to catch on, right? I assume eventually that'll be the norm. But for now, it's not going over real well. They have historic, they have explorer, and they have bot matches. So you would choose historic, okay? They have ranked, historic ranked, and they have historic play, okay? Play is kind of more for beginners. I don't want to say it's more casual because I don't feel that way, because there are just as many competitive decks in play as there are in ranked. Arena has not been good about bringing in casual players. None of my casual player friends play Arena. And with a friend like me, I would assume Meaning I can be a little bit pushy. With a friend like me, I would assume that if it were casual friendly, they'd all be playing. We'd be playing every day. You know what I mean? But it's just not fun for them because it's competitive. But that's a whole other thing. Anyway, so you can choose historic and you can be in play mode or you can be in ranked mode. I like ranked mode best because if you're going to be competitive, you might as well see how you're doing. And then you get to choose best of one or best of three. So best of one means you just play one game against the person and whoever wins, wins, and then you move on to the next game. Now, the only weird thing about that is this is a card game, and card games have a lot of luck. So if you only play one game against somebody, they could never draw lands and have a horrible time. And you could be feeling like, ha, I'm better than that guy because I beat them. When the reality is they never drew lands. So nobody has any idea, right? The only way to really compete with someone else is to play several games against them so that the luck factor goes down. If you play 1,000 games with somebody and you win 750 of them, you are pretty dang good at Magic, at least against that person, right? And if you play 1,000 games and you only win 250 of them, you're probably not that good. They're probably a lot better at it than you are, right? So best of three is a better way to play Magic. But if you're just looking to get out a couple quick games, right? If you only got 20 minutes and you want to get your wins for the day or whatever, you're going to play best of one because it goes faster, it feels like. I don't know if it actually does because in best of three, you play the same person 3 times, 2 to 3 times. And if you get 2 wins in that time, you got 2 wins. It still counts them as wins. But the games are a little more competitive. So people think longer and you got a sideboard in between. So there's a little bit of time there. It just takes a little bit longer. It's more of an investment in time, I think, to play best of three than it is best of one. I'm going to try to play more best of three because I've gotten in the habit of just getting my wins and being done. I'm not having as much fun with Magic as I would like to. But now that we have Explorer back, I think that'll be a big help in that. And I'm going to try to push into best of three more often. And I think it's going to be good. Good. So if you want to do this, you choose historic, and then you got to pick which deck you want to play. I got a dinosaur deck that I would play, and then you just hit play, and it finds you a match. Good. That's all confusing and weird, and hopefully you'll just get used to it over time. I still will play 3 games in a row and be like, why isn't it showing me my rank? And then I realize I'm in play, you know, so it happens. But yeah. Good. I'm super happy they did this. I'm super happy to be making videos again and talking about Magic. I hope you guys are excited too. And that's all I really have to say. This was kind of a long one, but you know, we're just chatting, so it's all good. All right. Well, have a great day, and thanks so much for watching. See ya.